Hi, everyone, and welcome to Healthy Republic. For today's Healthy Republic, we're doing something a little different. We have an interview with Dr. Duke Pesta, and we're going to be talking about Gosnell, the trial of America's biggest serial killer, a movie that just came out over the weekend. Dr. Duke, talk to us a little bit about Gosnell, because the story is about Dr. Kermit Gosnell and what happened about 8 years ago, and he was convicted in 2013. I know you covered this story back then.
Yeah, we covered this story 5 years ago. Seems like just yesterday. And I knew this was going to happen. This is one of the most significant. He is the biggest, the most copious serial killer in American history. Over a course of 30-some years, he murdered thousands of babies. And when I say murdered, I don't just mean aborting them, which is murder. I mean waiting to or facilitating the birth of babies and then killing them by snipping the spine at the base of the neck. Pretty gruesome stuff. And there's a reason why you haven't heard much about this, and we said this 5 years ago. It's because not only was he an African-American serial killer, he was an African-American serial killer who murdered primarily black and brown-skinned babies, number one. Number two. And number three, as an abortionist doctor, he, Gosnell, saw this as a logical extension of abortion generally. And his ghoulish rhetoric, it's kind of hard to argue with it. The reason this movie isn't more popularized, because it begs one really serious, important question. If we are rightly disgusted at a 3- and 4-hour-old baby having its spinal cord snipped, killing that child while it's there laying on the table, wriggling and crying, if that justifiably offends our sensibilities, and it better, how is it radically different from a late-term abortion? How is it radically different from what happens in a 7th or 8th month abortion? To say nothing of what happens in 4th and 5th month abortions. It's the same ghoulish procedure. And the fact is that the mainstream media has to ignore it, that our clergymen, many oftentimes don't want to touch this, primarily because it runs against one of the great sacraments of progressivism, abortion on demand.
Yeah, absolutely. And the story of Gosnell, many people may be saying, I've never heard of the guy. What are you talking about? Kermit Gosnell was said to be a doctor, which he wasn't, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, for anyone who doesn't know. And he was an abortionist doctor. And he views still to this day that he has done nothing wrong when he aborts these babies. And even when he aborts them inside the womb, or like you said, just outside the womb, he would snip the backs of their spines, murdering them. And what happened is he was finally convicted in 2013 of just 3 counts of infant death, plus manslaughter of a 41-year-old woman. But what happened now is we finally have a book about it that details all of the actual case of it. It just goes through all of the court documents and is very factual. And now they're able to finally, after doing a Indiegogo campaign, raise enough money to make a movie about it and start Dean Cain as the detective who initially discovered what was happening with Gosnell. And in the movie itself, they stick to just the facts. But just the facts are so gruesome and horrific. And I want to read you just something from the book. And it's going to be horrific. I want to know, just put abortion aside for a moment. Just, would you go to a doctor's office if this is what you heard the office was like? Uneducated, semi-literate workers were administering anesthesia and doing ultrasounds. The clinic was filthy, and 2 flea-infested cats roamed the procedure rooms where Gosnell would eat sandwiches. The clinic reused single-use medical equipment. An autoclave sterilizer for abortion instruments didn't work properly, and a worker who had AIDS hand-washed the instruments. Gosnell would sometimes have a bowl of cereal as he was performing an abortion.
I mean, you're exactly right. That this is the sanitary conditions, the training, the lack of training, the unprofessionalism, the dangerous way this so-called doctor went about his business and the people he hired should never have been allowed to happen anywhere in this country, anywhere in the world, let alone first world country. But more important than that, not setting aside abortion here, let's go back to the grueling, sort of unescapable logic of what Gosnell thought he was doing. These babies were marked for abortion. Mom wanted them aborted. Does it really matter in his mind when you kill them? And if forcing the baby to be born, because he got really good at prescribing medicine that would trigger birth, right? That would start the birthing process. There's a grim logic here that can't be reported because it casts a dangerous shadow, as far as the left's concerned, over the entire enterprise of abortion.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you take a look, and I want everyone to know, go see the movie. The movie itself is not gory. But you know when you sit down in that theater and you watch what they're putting on screen. You know what is happening. And the question is, for the people who wrote the book and the screenplay, is where's the humanity? And clearly Gosnell has, his mind is obviously not right, and he cannot differentiate between being in a womb and being outside. To him, like you said, it doesn't matter. It's all the same to him.
Well, is it just to him, Katie?
No, it's not just, I guess you're right. It's not just to him, because if it was to more people, we would have heard about this.
Right.
The media would have reported,
right.
but they did not, and they will not.
If there was some absolute way to distinguish between the 8-hour-old baby after it's born and 8 hours before when it's still in its mother's womb, you know that's what the Planned Parenthood would be talking about. But Planned Parenthood is actually using its clout to silence the author and the producers of this movie. You mentioned that Indiegogo actually crowdfunded for the movie. They raised a couple $1 million, which is why the movie got made. But who all wasn't it?
So Kickstarter refused to have it.
Refused to even have it.
NPR,
National Public Radio,
would kick them off. Facebook wouldn't let them advertise. They're trying to purposely silence.
That's right.
And let's talk about who's really silencing who. And the media, and if you look at the movie and at the court cases itself, for months of it, for the initial part of the whole trial, no media was there. The only reason they even were made known is a blogger took a photo of the empty benches saying, where are all the reporters trying to cover this national story?
They boycotted, basically. The reporters boycotted this because it was a black eye to the abortion industry. And again, beyond that, it was an ethical and legal and moral challenge to the whole process of abortion. Let me reiterate again what you said. Go see this movie. You're not going to be subjected to gore. You're not going to be subjected to blood. You're not going to be subjected to baby parts. But you'll know from conversations and from camera angles, you'll know what's going on. It's a true story, 100% true story.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Dr. Duke, for being here today. Again, go see Gosnell. You can read the book as well. And make sure you tune into the Dr. Duke show this week, because we have the director, Nick Searcy, is actually going to be on the Dr. Duke show. So stay tuned for that.